So whatever happened to Fluffy?
Who told you about Fluffy?
Hey everybody, I'm Taylor from Beard vs. Geek, where I show you it is okay to be a man and a geek at the same time. Today we are going back into the Harry Potter universe, and we are talking about the most beloved three-headed dog by Harry Potter fans. That would be Fluffy. Fluffy is a three-headed dog based off of the three-headed dog Cerberus from ancient Greek mythology, which was the dog that guarded the gates of the underworld to make sure that souls did not escape. Cerberus, who was under the control of Hades, was there as a guardian and a great keeper of doorways. And that's what Fluffy became in the Harry Potter universe. Fluffy, who was Hagrid's dog and purchased off of a Greek feller he met down at the pub, was the three-headed dog that guarded the Philosopher's Stone. Fluffy, who guarded the gateway into the bowels of the castle where the Philosopher's Stone was kept. See a direct parallel? Well, Fluffy was never seen or heard from again after Book 1, which leads us to the question of, what the hell happened? Well, that question was asked by a young, attentive reader back in 2001, and J.K. Rowling, during an interview, stated this. I love attentive readers. You tend to find at Hogwarts that anything that's dangerous ends up in the forest, so that's where Fluffy was released. So he's roaming around in the forest. That is all well and good, so let's talk about what happened to Fluffy after he got released into the forest. First off, how long does Fluffy live? You see, looking at dog breeds in general, we see a correlation to the size of the dog and how long the dogs live. For example, let's take Chihuahuas, which is a very popular small yappy dog, and who can live upwards of 20 years. Let's take a step up to a very common mid-sized dog and the Labrador. The Labrador can live up to 14 years. Then let's take it a step further to the giant dogs, and that would be the Great Dane. Well, the Great Dane can live about 6 to 8 years. Newfoundlands can live about 8 to 10 years. So let's take a giant leap forward to Fluffy, who is, well, big. How long can Fluffy live? Well, if we were to extrapolate from the data on hand, moving from tiny dogs to mid-sized dogs to giant dogs, and then upwards to Fluffy, we can extrapolate that Fluffy will live for about 5 years. You see, as dogs get bigger, their health issues become bigger as well. A very common medical issue for giant dogs is hip dysplasia as well as ankle dysplasia. That means that the joints aren't basically able to hold up that much of a giant dog anymore and kind of go, eh. That dysplasia means that it is extremely painful for the dogs to walk and ambulate. And without someone to stand there and to give the dogs enough food, the dogs would have to run out and hunt and kill their own food, which is extremely difficult to do if every step they make is extremely painful. Giant dogs also have other health complicated issues, but let's not really go into that right now. Let's talk about Fluffy. Let's say that he does have a life expectancy of, let's say, 5 years tops. Now, at the time of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone if you're in the UK, Hagrid had Fluffy for about a year before he lent him to Dumbledore to guard the you-know-what. Since dogs need to nurse with their mothers for at least a little time, we can guess that by the end of Book 1, Fluffy would be almost 2 years old. Having 3 years left on his lifespan, what is he to do? Well, according to J.K. Rowling, he got released into the forest. But not. Later on in 2015, some wonderful readers brought up the question of what happened with Fluffy during the last battle. Well, according to the data that we just talked about, Fluffy would have been dead. Having about 3 years left to live, Fluffy would have died around Book 4 or 5 if he was lucky. Therefore, would not have been around for the final battle of Hogwarts in Book 7. However, J.K. Rowling did not say Fluffy was dead lying somewhere in the forest. Instead, she replied about what Dumbledore did, presumably behind Hagrid's back. Quote, E my B my 2, he was repatriated to Greece. Dumbledore liked to put Hagrid's more foolish acquisitions back where they belonged, not the forest. To spare Hagrid's feelings, it is very possible that Dumbledore might have arranged for Fluffy to go back to Greece with Hagrid not knowing about it. That, or he was very comfortable talking with Hagrid during the summer months and saying, so Let's recapture this dog that we put in the forest and take him back to Greece. Since Fluffy was an extremely vicious dog and could potentially kill not only children who wander into the forest, which happens pretty much every year, but could also upset the ecosystem of the forest and piss off a lot of centaurs, which is extremely probable. So what happened to Fluffy when he went back to Greece? Well, we do know from Hagrid as well as from Newt Scamander that there are trades of mythical creatures going back and forth. Some legal, some illegal, depending on if you're Hagrid. See this video right up here for more details about that. But going back to Fluffy and Greece, you still have a wizarding community in Greece. A wizarding community who has not divulged the existence of the wizarding world to their muggle counterparts. Therefore, the wizards in Greece needs to do a very similar thing to us in the United States and those in the United Kingdom, and that would be keep their mythical animals in check. Without keeping these mythical animals in check, they will be sighted all over the place, and more muggles are going to catch on to the fact that, hey, wizards are still a thing, and all these creatures that we hear about that we think are fake are real. Well, let's see here. If you have a three-headed dog trade going on legally or illegally, as it most likely will be, again, see that video, it is very probable that Fluffy, if he is in fact intact, would turn around and become a breeder dog. Since the three-headed dogs are a rather rare commodity and their population needs to be kept in check, it is probable that Fluffy would either become a breeder dog and therefore a stud in the most literal terms, or he would go out to a nice Greek farm somewhere, if you get my drift. Either way, we can guess that Fluffy had a wonderful, possibly 3 years, unless he did not become a breeder dog, where he frolicked around the Grecian mountains and made friends with all of the random sheep. And by friends, I mean he ate them. Because he's a giant dog. And dogs require a lot of food. And from what I hear, there's a lot of sheep. So let me know what you think about this theory in the comment section down below. And if you're new to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Great videos are coming out every week, where I show you it is okay to be a man and a geek at the same time. For more Harry Potter action, you can click right here. Or for more manliness and geekiness, you can click right here. Because after all, if the women don't find you manly, they should at least find you geeky. And until next time, beard on, bro.